Okay, welcome back from the break. My name is Pikka Jokelainen. I'm based in Denmark at State and Serum Institutes, and I'm part of the project management team of the One Health OHEJP. And it's a great pleasure to moderate this next session and discussion, where we will focus on lessons learned. So this is actually for all of us in the audience here and online. Now is the time to think and reflect. What have we actually learned during all the cross-sectoral collaborations during One Health OHEJP, both personally and also as a network? And for this discussion, I have 3 panelists here with me. They are all also from the One Health OHEJP project management team. So Hein and Karin and Rob, they have all been mentioned already by Arnaud. And during this session, we will also hear short statements from other members of the consortium. And there's also time for input from the audience. Let's start with a round of brief statements from my panelists. So Hein, please.
Thank you, Pikka. I think I'm here as work package 3 leader, which means the work package dealing with the joint research projects, so the normal research projects with planning, with a budget, of course, and with advancing science, improving knowledge. And I think what we did in these, when setting up these projects, is to bring scientists together. That was the idea, bring scientists together from all over the consortium, be it animal health specialists, public health, or food safety, and give them the opportunity to collaborate, to work together in a One Health environment. And the second thing is, we succeeded in convincing them that they should not only think about the deliverables, the results, the publications, the reports, the whatever, but also what has it brought to society, what has it brought to policy maybe, or what can it bring to society or in policy. So this, the effect, the possible effect of their work for science, society, and policy. I think these are the 2 messages I think are important here. Thank you.
Thank you, Hein. We go to Karin, please.
Yes, and I have worked with Work Package 4 and the joint integrative projects, and I am so impressed by the enthusiasm, by the dedication of everyone, and how everyone really has tried to contribute to a better world. By aligning procedures between different agencies, harmonization, creating solutions that can be interpreted in a similar way between different organizations, and also how everyone has participated to disseminate the results. Every time we have asked someone for a presentation, there is always someone there eager to tell others about what they have done, and also to enthusiate others to take on their new tools and guidelines or methods or whatever. So it has really been a pleasure working with the joint integrative projects.
Thank you, Karin. We go to Rob, please.
Thank you, Pikka. It's a real pleasure to be part of this panel. I've been the leader of Work Package 6, which is education and training, and that's encompassed so many different areas, right from, as we've heard earlier on, 17 PhD studentships, short-term missions, satellite meetings at our annual scientific meetings, together with a lot of continuing professional development, including media training. And one of the really strong messages that's come across is that we do need to work across different disciplines. The multidisciplinary approach is really important, and we embedded that right from the beginning with all of the training activities to ensure that what we were doing was building rounded future One Health scientists who could really have an impact on policy across different areas and different disciplines. And that was really important to us to ensure that that would happen early on in the project. But those individuals would go on to work in many different areas, including policy. And we've seen some of our PhD students now are working in policy-driven roles. And that's really important that they're able to do that. The collaboration has been fantastic, but actually the fact that different disciplines have come together. We've got physicists working with biologists, working with vets, working with medics, working with environmental scientists as well. And all of that together has made it a really cohesive project, which has now had some fantastic outputs, and we're hearing about those here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, there's been a lot of happening in the training thing. One thing I need to comment here, that in the part of the media training today is to keep the microphone very close to your mouth. But I can mention that Rob was highlighting the multidisciplinary approaches and also media training. And indeed, there's a lot of things to learn, not only directly the topic we have. I think we need to get this started with the testimonies and statements from others. And Hein, you mentioned the research projects that you said were normal research projects, but actually they were quite special. And let's hear from one of the project leads. So I would like to ask Peter Jan to come and give his statement of lessons learned, please.
Thank you, Pikka. So I'm Peter Jan Sijsens, scientist at Sciensano and project lead of the Full Force project. So the context of the Full Force project, it's embedded in bacterial surveillance. And if you know a bit bacterial surveillance, then you know that in the last decade, there has been a quantum leap towards genome-based surveillance. And that's not only genome-based surveillance, because there has been a first revolution into next-generation sequencing, and then the last few years there has been an additional revolution towards real-time sequencing using long-read sequencing. And these overlap, these two revolutions, because while you were still implementing the first one, the second one came, and with this new revolution, you can do real-time sequencing. So within one day, you can do outbreak investigation and you can do very fast follow-up of sequencing. And of course, you want to have that as a scientist, you want to have that in your lab. But when there is new technological introductions, it's sometimes hard to keep up. And you always have in your, let's say, group of friends, somebody who's buying the new iPhone, who is on TikTok and, who is into these new things, and you have people who lag behind. And so our lab was lagging behind. And so I thought that motivated me to PI a project with people from Holland, people from SSI in Denmark, because they were clearly the leaders in the field, to steal their work, but we called it harmonization of procedures. And that worked. I mean, so they shared their protocols, they shared their methodology, they shared samples, we did ring tests together with 17 European partners. And there was a huge technological discrepancy, even within a country, comparing, for example, the institute who does human surveillance against veterinary surveillance, even within the country, even within the city, it's all, as Hein said, it's all also the human capital which matters. And that is also something which really stood up during this Full Force project. It is really the human capital which you get to know also when you're doing this project, and certainly as a PI, because that explains so many things if you know which people are working there and which are not working there. And also that explains if somebody leaves or falls sick or have a long-term absence, then you don't hear from them. And that also reflects in other aspects of your work, because we do a lot of we do research projects, but actually what we do is surveillance. We do outbreak surveillances, and then we collaborate with each of these groups together. And if you know these groups, you understand much better why they're not reacting to their email, or why they're fast reacting to email, why they are creating all these ECDC EFSA alerts. If you have a very good person there, if that person left, then there's no more alerts. So, but you get to know this by knowing the people, and that is indeed so important. Also, it creates leverage for future projects, which we already introduced with the Foosful people. And I think as a project leader, it was a hugely valuable experience for me. I think maybe one thing which was always difficult from the start, because now we did a harmonization of these 17 groups, and are we all the same level? No, of course not. But we are, let's say, one level up, so that's, I think, a success. But still, of course, there are many more than these 17 labs. We have, I think, 30, 40, I don't know, in total. And to convince ECDC and EFSA to invest also in this new technology, of course, everybody has to be at the same pace. And that is it's really hard, especially for the Eastern countries, to reach out to them and to convince them that also they should join these type of efforts. And maybe you can comment on that later. But it's really difficult to get them on board as well. And when talking to them, it's really a matter of confidence, and it takes much more than just sending emails. It will also it will require some human investment as well. So that was my testimony. Thank you.
Thank
Pikka.
you. Really nice. I think I'm not the only one making notes, like how to steal from the others who have nice technologies is to collaborate with them. So we are learning. Hein, do you have comments to these reflections?
No, I found it very interesting, and as you all do as well, I guess. It is so important. What the researchers want is to do research. They want to come together, and so, well, this is a testimony that fits into that. So I'm very glad to hear this. Of course, about the Eastern countries, that's maybe something interesting to discuss as well. Is this our task, or is this also something that we could expect from the Commission or whatever?
Thank you. I was thinking of one thing, actually, Hein. We once made a poster together about the different research projects where we mentioned that it's more than research, because the research projects indeed have the impacting, but also a lot of integrative activities and harmonizing across, which was nicely mentioned. And that brings us actually to the idea of integration and integrative projects that is actually Karin's area. And I would like to ask Anna on stage to give also a statement, please.
Yes, thank you, Pikka. My name is Anna Omasic, and I'm the project leader of the CIMEX project, one of not the integrative project, but we are a little bit set aside, but we were a simulation exercise. So I don't know if every one of you have heard about CIMEX, but I hope so. But it was a tabletop exercise, and we work with a foodborne salmonella outbreak at national level. So what we did was that we would like the three sectors to work together: animal health, public health, and food safety. So I was asked to have an item with me, so I'm like a polite dog, so I did. I did this during the weekend together with my kids. I have also learned the next generation about One Health. So I don't know if you can see. Maybe Hein, you can help me.
Collaboration for One Health.
Yes. So as you see here, we have the One Health, animal health, public health, and food safety working together. And so far, so good. But you can see that we are overlapping here. And this is one of the mindsets of the CIMEX, that we were working with this overlapping, because there is someone saying, okay, someone else is doing the job. Or maybe conflicts may arrive. And we also have the part here in the middle where no one has the responsibility, or we are lacking information or knowledge. So when we worked within CIMEX, we had this mindset at all levels from the beginning when we set up the team, and Yeah, you don't need to hold it anyway. You have seen. From where we're setting the team to when we were working with the scenario, and when we were talking and contacting the national and local exercise leaders and evaluators, when we asked for advice from our CIMEX advisory board, the stakeholders, and so on. So this is something that we have learned a lot to use during this project. And we can show from the evaluation of the CIMEX project that all countries that participated, it was 11 European countries, that they had learned a lot along the way. And several teams has also used their results and follow up the results and implemented new routines, and as well implementing some of the tools that you have worked with within the One Health EJP. For example, Food Chain Lab, we have used the glossary a lot, both during the scenario and when we have communicated with all the national teams and so on. And and this, you as the panel, you were actually our CIMEX steering board, and you helped us a lot during the journey. And I would like to thank you, of course. And I would also like to thank all the participating countries that follow the exercise and make this as a success story. And also, of course, the stakeholders. And we have talked a lot about the stakeholders, and since the CIMEX come into the project, for 2 years ago, around 2 years ago, we used actually the stakeholder to give us information and give us their knowledge and their experience of exercises. So we used them, not give them so much information, but they give us information, and they also were very kind and had some presentations and so on when we have workshops together with the national teams. So we are really appreciated the advisory board stakeholders that we have. And also, I actually have half of my CIMEX team here in the audience, and I would like, of course, to thank you. You did a fantastic job together, and I hope to see you all in the future.
Thank you, Anna. It is actually by chance that we are indeed the steering committee, so thank you very much for your statements. Maybe we start on, Karin, do you have some immediate comments? But I would like us to actually reflect on the experience of being a steering committee for this activity, but please start.
Yeah, what I think about is that this really demonstrates how important it is that sectors come together. And I know that they physically met in many of the countries, and that experience was really good for everyone to learn to know each other, and also find out that sometimes you have quite nice informal networks. But I know that one of the conclusions of the exercise also were that you also have to have formal networks, because in an outbreak situation, when everything is chaotic, then you need to know directly who to contact and where and when and what about. So I know you worked a lot with that, and I think that is one of the most important experiences.
Yes, if I can take an example from the Swedish exercise, because yes, exactly what you are saying, because we were having one person that was not there at the exercise one of the days, and when we had the discussions, they were saying, "Oh, we should have asked Mats. Oh, but he's not here. What will you do?" "Oh, we don't know." So that was a very good experience from them, that it's not just one person that can take care of this. It must be several persons that can be the persons that you should contact during an outbreak, for example.
Thank you. Any further comments to this? Yeah, Rob, please.
Yes, just a couple, really. I think CIMEX was fantastic, but it really demonstrates how everybody comes together and trusts each other with their information and how they work together in harmony to be able to solve issues. And part of CIMEX involved a degree of education, I think, and training, because it went in blocks right the way through from a perspective of learning what was required for the CIMEX activity through to how that's communicated and clearly, and to ensure that people have confidence and trust in what has been prepared. So I think it really is a lovely legacy for the project.
Thank you.
Thank you once more, Anna. We can continue. I think we actually take the training point of view next, because we are not only training the next generation and doing a do-it-yourself One Health work with children, but we also have a PhD program in One Health OHEJP. And I would like to invite Laura and Philip on stage to give your testimonies from that point of view. Because one thing is, it's not just any PhD, but there is really this environment to have a PhD with the networking and collaboration opportunities. So please, Laura.
Yeah, so I did a PhD in trying to find the gap between disease and environment, actually, so quite related to what was discussed before. I did my PhD at the University of Surrey, and amongst all the training and educational experiences that the One Health OHEJP brought us, well, there are so many, and I'm so grateful, because obviously it's the remit and the interest of scientific knowledge that I was looking for this PhD. But I think the most striking one was the ASM, the Annual Scientific Meeting of 2020, which was the first one that I was attended as a PhD student, and it turned out to be virtual. We all know why. And you'll think that maybe a virtual event would not be as meaningful as an in-person, that obviously you have much less opportunity for networking and getting to know people, but it was my first scientific meeting, so I was so excited. So I listened to all the talks, I took notes, and I actually get to know one student, not from the One Health OHEJP, but from another institute. And she was working in Salmonella, same as me, and a very similar project to mine. So it was very, very interesting and striking. So I just contacted her, and I was aware of the short-term missions, and it was one of my objectives to do a little bit of collaboration, and this short-term mission called me since the beginning. And just I proposed her, like, do you want to collaborate? And this was 1 week before the deadline of the short-term mission application. So I was very grateful to her, to Linda from the RIVM, to accept, be proactive, and Lapo and Elko that were very receptive and invite me over. We did the application. I have to ask for a bit of 5 days extension to the application. Piale, at the moment, the manager of the work package 6, accepted it. And there I went. Next year I was in Utrecht, in the RIVM, and it not only helped in strengthen the outcomes of my PhD, since I was applying my same methodology for a different country, but it also helped me to see how it works in a public health institute, because my experience is from the university. So I also wanted to see how is the knowledge applied from a different perspective. And even though it was just 1 month, it was very informative, and I learned a lot. And it actually helped me a lot in my next step of the career, which is currently at the Animal and Plant Health Agency, APHA, agency of the Ministry of Agriculture of England. And they really value my proactivity and my networking skills and getting to collaborate. So for me, this lesson learned of networking and collaboration it's been a very big lesson learned, a very big experience. In my current role at APHA, I will continue this collaboration, hopefully, as I'll be involved in the European Partnership on Animal Health and Welfare, a new European project going on. So I'll be happy to help with that, among other different tasks. So I continue collaborating. Thank you.
So thank you for the invitation. My name is Filip Damek, and I did my PhD at ANSES and the National Veterinary School of Altvorp. And I was actually quite fortunate to have been working on One Health EGP projects of Toxa QMRA and Toxosources. And I mean, we have already heard some amazing testimonies to the success of One Health EGP, and I would like to contribute with a story myself. And it is a story that showcases the amazing collaboration and collectivity within the ambitious Toxosources project. And one of the primary objectives of this project was to collect and screen available literature and process data regarding the prevalence of the parasite Toxoplasma gondii in animals in Europe. And this data was essential for the future steps of the project and for providing the precise prevalence estimates in these animals. And I have to say that at the beginning, this really seemed like a straightforward task to do. But we were really hoping in a swift victory with this one. But then when the initial literature search came back to us, we found out that there was almost 2,000 scientific publications to screen, to read, to go through, and to extract data from. So this was a huge task, but we are still very ambitious to follow this through, and we wanted to provide the most complete overview of the prevalence situation in Europe. So therefore we decided to leave no potential data unscreened. And for this reason, we reached out to the whole consortium or the whole entire network. And we are really enthusiastic in the response that we got. Many offered help to screen us, to help us screen, and a total of 20 experts from 13 countries across Europe in the end joined our forces to tackle this challenge together. And everything was finally on the right track again. And just to put things into perspective, this was back in 2020, and you might know where I'm heading with this, because quite a bit, something else was yet upon us, and that the next thing was COVID. And with it came the uncertainty and also yet another challenge of bringing the whole literature screening process and the database that we were compiling. All of our meetings, we had to move it online. And it was then and there when I got to know the real strength of the network and of the consortium, because with everyone's contributions, we used the lockdowns productively to our advantage, and we created a truly unique data set, which we eventually succeeded to apply to fit to a brand new model, capable of providing this desired precise estimates of Toxoplasma gondii prevalence in animal populations in Europe. And I want to say just that this success story was only possible through the outstanding collaboration of colleagues from various academic fields, various institutes, national research institutes, and also industry partners all across Europe. And in this way, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate these invaluable contributions of each and every individuals and every partner that we had in achieving this really ambitious goal. So that's my message: collaboration. Thank you.
I mean, wow, these PhD students are now, Philip, you're already a PhD, this resilience, turning these COVID-19 lockdowns into something productive and working together and finding networks even though the meetings are online. And that's actually something, I mean, we have all learned that, but this was really inspiring to hear. So thank you both. Rob, do you have a comment to this, please?
Yes, I think just to say congratulations to you both and to all of the other students for everything that you've done during your PhD studies. I think building that cohort of PhD students that could work together in all of the different environments was really important. And actually, the pandemic did help from a perspective of everybody being online and being able to work together in lots of different modalities. But ultimately, what is important is that our PhD students remain as a cohort, remain in contact, not just with the 17 PhD students, but with everybody else that you've met during the journey of your PhD. And I think that must be the main legacy, is that you now have a network of contacts in many different areas, as you both demonstrated, not only your own disciplines, but elsewhere.
If I just may react to this, yeah, it's true. I mean, COVID was really a huge obstacle that we had to face. But the good thing about it was, like you said, we all had to face it. So I think it even brought us closer.
It's nice to get a positive comment about the COVID challenges. So we will write this in our final report, right? As a quote. How about Learning Way? What kind of, when there will be similar PhD programs in some other large projects, what would you recommend to learn from this?
I think certainly one of the most important things is having lots of different ways to learn, not just because everybody learns in a different way, but actually it helps other communities to come in different disciplines. And we know that, for instance, in engineering, it's different to some of the biological sciences. Our online learning has helped us really to be able to bring everything together in one place. But actually, the summer schools and the workshops and indeed the satellite meetings and CPD are all been other activities which wouldn't possibly normally be part of a PhD programme. And being able to be part of those right the way through, I think, has enriched the experience. And I would most certainly encourage others who are undertaking PhD programmes, doctoral programmes, to include more on communication, more on building relationships and networks, and more about how do we work with other disciplines, because it's about communication. Other disciplines may not understand our language, but if we can make sure that they do, then they may be able to integrate into our projects.
Thank you, very good comments. Thank you once again. The learning in One Health OHEJP has not been only for the PhD students. We have all been learning a lot, regardless of career stage. And in fact, this One Health OHEJP years, these have been shaping many of our careers and mindsets and way of working. And I would like to ask two persons again, Wim, please, and Federico, please come on stage and give your point of views. And this is really the career steps were also mentioned by Laura. So everybody to reflect, where were you 5 years ago? Please.
Can I start? Hi, everyone. So I want to share my experience within the One Health OHEJP as a young professional. Actually, the One Health OHEJP was my first work experience straight out of university. So I was a recent graduate veterinarian trying to find my way and what I wanted to do. And then I found the One Health OHEJP, and I think it really changed me from a veterinarian into a One Health agent, if I can call myself that. I tried to take the most out of the consortium, so I was involved in joint research projects, integrative projects, summer school, workshops, and so on. And by being exposed to so many professionals and from so many different backgrounds, I started to reconsider my preconceived ideas on the role of veterinarians in society. And the barriers I thought there were between professions start to thin out a bit. And this experience didn't just made me a more grounded professional, it really changed the way I approach life and complex challenges. It is really a mindset change that Pikka was saying, and starting to have a system approach, system thinking approach. And I think this made me have a smooth transition into my now a position in EFSA as a trainee. My boss is here, so he can agree or disagree if it's been a good transition or not. But I really took these core values and skills with me, and now moving from a more research position into the science to policy interface, I think I can understand the need to listen to each other and to value diversity. I want to say that I see One Health as a one-way road, so I don't think you can really start on this road and come back, because if you really believe in One Health and you change your mentality, I don't think you can go back to being inside the box and not looking at problems in a different way. I hope it's not a dead-end road. I hope it keeps going. I believe in it, and I really hope that future initiatives take this momentum that we built here to invest in capacity building in young professionals like me, because not everyone had the same opportunities as me, and I really think that we can build a strong force, because if we are dealing with the regulatory framework barriers, maybe we can build from the bottom up instead of waiting to build from the top down. And I think that was what I wanted to share. I just want to thank the consortium, and in specific everyone that worked with me and reached out a hand to help me grow as a professional and as a person. On the ending note, I just want to say that my traineeship finishes in December. So if someone knows a position and wants to invest in me, I'll be open for work. Thank you.
Thank you. Wim, please take the microphone.
Okay, thank you, Pikka. Well, I had different roles in the EJP One Health. I'd like to focus on two main, which I think are main achievements. The first one being our work on education. Together with Roberto's team, we've worked hard on education. We started with the summer schools, explaining what is One Health, what is a One Health approach. We moved on to implementing your One Health approach, not only with people from within the project, but also people outside the project. So we made connections with other countries, other projects, other networks. We ended up with how can we operationalize the One Health approach. So I think we've come a long way. We've done a lot on education for the One Health approach. Another main achievement I would like to focus on is the Karin project. We have developed a lot of very nice research projects and integration projects in the One Health EJP. But when the COVID-19 epidemic started, we were put on the spot. We should, or can we, develop a project on coronavirus? And I was very much in favor of that, and we ended up developing the Karin project, coronavirus research integration, and I ended up pulling that project together with Professor Daniel Horton, who's also here in the audience, I think. So in that project, we started off as an integration project, but we were, of course, obliged to do a lot of research also, because coronavirus was there and we had to work on it. And we ended up with showing that by doing research together and integration together, we were able to develop an integrative research project. And I think that was a very main achievement of the EJP project. And I think that's where we are now. We are at the point that we, for the future, have to further operationalize our One Health approach for emerging diseases preparedness. So that's where we are now, and that's what we have to think of for our future projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Wim, and thank you both. Any comments to this from our panelists? Rob, please.
Yeah, thank you both. It's really interesting to see the different projects from a perspective of different career stages. I think what's really striking is how those projects have developed across the One Health EJP, even though some of them weren't planned right at the beginning, such as Karin. And what we've learnt by undertaking Covrin during the project is helped to shape the One Health EJP, I think, because actually it was really what it's about, preparedness, being able to react quickly to a situation. And all of the background work that's done in the One Health EJP really is there so that we're ready when something like that comes, and hopefully not again, but if it does, we're more prepared than we were before. I think from the earlier career stages, I think it's been really important to see the transition and how One Health has built your career trajectory, and now in EFSA. But also it's really nice to hear that no matter what you do, you look at it in a lens of One Health now. And I think that's what we all want to be able to do. We want to work in our disciplines, but at the same time, think about One Health.
Really good comment. Karin, please continue.
Yeah, I just want to comment on, I think it's amazing how you are networking. And then I turn to you, Frederico, but also to you too. Because this really shows how you both actively try to find people to work with and collaborate with and interact with, but also when you're moving around between different projects or organizations, you bring these networks with you and you share them with others. So I think that is a fantastic way of sharing the knowledge from the EJP and the One Healthness.
Thank you. Hein, also, please go ahead.
Just, I was wondering when I was listening to both of you, and you said as a student, okay, I was interested, I was open-minded, I looked at it and I discovered One Health, what One Health is. And Wim, you said we have this system to, or this possibility for education and training to show what One Health is. But aren't we missing some audiences that could profit from One Health approach, but that are not interested, or just say, well, we know what it is. We are already doing this. It's the One Health EJP doesn't bring any added value. I think there are still some stakeholders, I don't know, or well, non-interested parties, but that could take an advantage of this. Do you think is there any way to reach out to those parties?
Well, I certainly think that we should try to broaden the people involved in our One Health approach. And so I think a main challenge for us as people working in the One Health approach is to connect to people and explain how we do that, and to make to show examples, especially when you try to operationalize this One Health approach in daily problems. You really have to show how it works and how you can make it work on the problems that are emerging now and in the future. So that's a major challenge for us. And by connecting so many people in the summer schools, in the PhD programs, all these people are people who can now explain that to the larger world. So I think that's an achievement, and it's also a challenge. So that's something we will have to work on and keep working on.
Can I comment? Yeah, I just want to add that maybe for us young professionals, it's easier to shape our minds because we see the good examples and we are still empty canvas and we can draw on it. Maybe people that have been working in silos for so many years, they just need more examples and to be proven wrong. So I just think we need to keep going. That's just it. Thank you.
Excellent. Good words. Thank you once more, both of you. And I also like that way of saying that, Federico, you said, like, this is a one-way road. And this road trip, sometimes there's also some deeper thoughts. And one of the deeper thoughts have been maybe how do we define and how do we understand what is One Health? And this has been touched upon on the previous panels also. And it's actually, I mean, when we started One Health EJP, there was no official definition. Now the One Health high-level expert panel has their definition, so that has been helping in a way the discussions. In One Health EHEJP, the environment was not a major focus in the beginning, and then it has become more part of our work here. So it's been changing, we've been learning, we've been reflecting. And we have one more testimony from a consortium member. That would be a video from Guido on exactly this topic. So now this goes to the deep thoughts on our road trip. Guido, please.
Hi everyone, this is Guido Benedetti speaking from Statens Serum Institute in Denmark, where I work as an epidemiologist. And during the last 2 years, I was the leader of the One Health EHEJP Joint Integrative Project Matrix. And with this video, I will share a few thoughts about my experience in One Health. And I was asked to think over how the cross-sectoral collaborations had helped me growing as an individual and the lessons I learned from this with my perspective. I encountered One Health after a hectic journey over 20 years. I'm an artist since I can remember, then I became a dentist, then a public health officer, and I've been primarily working in humanitarian aid as an epidemiologist. And my primary scientific interest has always been with social determinants of health. And I have to say that when I first encountered One Health, I saw a rosy picture. A picture where healthy environments, healthy animals, healthy humans all function in harmony. However, we all know that this is only an aspiration, a perspective. The real picture looks quite different. Science is crystal clear. The planet is fast approaching irreversible tipping points. The life of the billions of animals that we farm is unspeakably miserable. And the life of humans is miserable too, stretched between extreme deprivation and mindless consumerism. So our environments are not healthy. Animals are not healthy. Humans are not healthy either. And the most challenging thing, at least to me, is that all this is man-made. All these dreadful things do not happen by chance. They happen because we destroy the planet, because we enslave the animals, and because we fight each other for natural resources. So to answer the question I was given, One Health inspired me, both scientifically and artistically, but it left me unimpressed. I'm not talking about One Health EHEJP here, of course. Here I'm talking about ourselves. And I wonder, why do we set unambitious objectives? Of course, this is a rhetoric question. But we celebrate a success when we manage to mitigate the harm that we are doing to nature and ourselves in the very first place. For example, we managed to reduce the colony-forming units of Campylobacter in the chicken meat we buy at the supermarket, and we call it a success. And we call it One Health. But could we be a little more ambitious? I believe that it cannot be One Health unless we stop harnessing nature and we start obeying nature, because eventually we do not possess nature or its resources. In the words of George Orwell, all animals are equal. And this made me think that maybe One Health could be primarily a matter of social justice. Think about it. Okay, this is what I felt like sharing today, and I thank you very much for your time. And I also want to really thank One Health EHEJP for giving me the opportunity to present my thoughts here today. Bye.
So, any comments to this, Rob, please? Where are we in our understanding of One Health and...
Well, I think as you mentioned right at the beginning, it's evolving, and it's evolved in 5 years, and it will evolve again in the next 5 years. Certainly the environment is taking a centre stage, but there'll be other components, and I think there will be many new iterations. But what we do understand now is that it's multifactorial, much more than we thought right at the beginning. We thought animals and humans, but now we think about the environment, but also we think about the different environments that they live in, whether it's the open environment, the built environment. And of course, we're seeing much more about aquaculture and other areas coming in. And more recently, we didn't think about plants in One Health, but all of a sudden we now know that lots of antibiotics are used on citrus plants in some countries, and therefore that could have implications for antibiotic resistance in animals and humans. And I think that will be a slow evolution, but it will continue to occur. But what I can say from the education part is that we can be part of that journey. We have to educate not only the professionals, but also everybody else that talks about One Health, the general public, but also the policymakers who maybe not are experts in that particular area, but have a broader understanding of how to implement policy, but need the experts in the different areas. And I think Guido's presentation was fantastic, and it also demonstrates the different disciplines that we need in One Health, whether that's science, dentistry, in this case, going right the way through to art and how we illustrate and communicate our science.
Thank you. Karin, do you want to continue?
Yes. Well, it's easy to agree with Guido, of course, but I think we have to educate people, as you say, because to be aware of these interconnections between human and animal health and nature, we have to know what One Health really means and is. And in this project, we have tried to solve some problems. In other projects, they approach other problems. And then there is a huge problem, of course, but together with all these projects, hopefully we take small steps further all the time. Yeah, I think we have made a contribution even to this giant problem.
Thank you. Hein?
Just a small remark. I think that we were lucky. Our founding father, André Gestin, he focused on, as he explained, animal health, public health, food safety, and that made it easy in a way. But it's like a model for One Health. It's like, well, if you want to tackle a large problem, you have to make it smaller and then bit by bit. And I think that's what we did after 5 years and a half. At least for animal health, public health, food safety, we proposed an approach and we followed it, and I think we succeeded. And it's a foundation for future One Health where environment is in. But it will be more complicated, I'm sure as well. If we want to include environment, we have to define what do we want to include, or do we accept everything, and so on. So it will be far more complicated. That I'm convinced of as well. But it is needed. Yeah, thank you.
It is a road trip indeed, and we are on that road. On a lighter note, I can actually tell one thing that Guido was mentioning in the final meeting of the Matrix project, that because he is indeed dentist as an education. So before One Health EHP, the abbreviation OH was oral health for him. So it's also, we need to be careful with the abbreviations, but we are learning. Any comments, questions from the audience? Thinking about what we have learned, what we should learn better. Jenny has a comment in the back. Can we get a microphone there, please?
I'm going to stand. Okay, can you hear me? I have joined the One Health EHP communications team rather late in this programme because I only arrived in 2022. I can see the value of what this programme has achieved, which is why I applied for the role, because I have a veterinary background, a conservation medicine background, and an ecology background. So I speak across several disciplines, and I could see what the One Health EHP was trying to achieve, not only through animal health, public health, food safety, but I also recognised what was being achieved in research to do with aspects of the environment. Because if you look at the projects and the PhD programmes in particular, you can see that the environment is incorporated in them. And, well, for example, we've already listened to Laura, our PhD student from Surrey University, speak. Well, her research is on salmonellosis and the impacts of the weather. And then there's another PhD student doing Desire Project who's focused on changes in urban environments to do with rat-borne zoonotic diseases. So I want to say that I think in terms of what the One Health EJP has achieved, although there's been a lot of discussion about, oh, well, we haven't included enough about the environment, I think it is actually in there if you actually look in detail at our projects, whether it's the JIPs, JRPs or PhDs, there are aspects of environment in there. And I also think the debate of whether it's One Health or planetary health and the terminology that's used, I don't think that matters. I think what's important is the fact that this program has got people from across different sectors, different disciplines to start talking together and appreciate each other's language and learn to communicate and appreciate each other's perspective. Now, as a communications officer, obviously I have a lot to say and I think about these things a lot because I think communication is important. And my role has been to share these messages along with the rest of my team, Elaine Camplin, Aurora Poirier, Jack Whitehouse, who's recently joined, and obviously our leader at Surrey, Roberto Ragione. And I think one of the things that we have tried to do in our communications team is focus on the One Health community and network, because that is what will go forward. And again, I keep going on about the website, but I think this is because it's a useful source of information. We have a section on there called community. And the reason we have that is because this is a community. And if you look on there, you will see a record of all the education and training events, summer schools, CPD modules. We had a final school as well, short-term missions, information about the doctoral program. And also, if you want to know more about particular successes, they are actually shared in our latest news posts and blog posts. So you can find out what has been achieved, because we've been working very hard in our team, in our communications team, to make sure this information is updated and does go out there and is shared more widely. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob, do you have comments on this? I'm thinking also how the communication work has been built. I mean, that's a major lesson learned, how to do that, and for also for upcoming projects and partnerships.
Yeah, I think the best advice that I can give is don't underestimate a communication right from the beginning. I think we had communication as part of our project right from day one, but actually it's grown and it's become even more important and sentinel to everything that we do as the One Health EJP. We also need to think about the different communication types that occur and different ways to reach different types of audiences. And as Jenny has clearly articulated, the web page is one that's accessible to most. But actually sometimes getting those messages across does require oral presentations, perhaps it's webinars, perhaps it's brochures. There's lots of different formats, and we found that the way to reach all of those different audiences is to use different formats that are pitched at different levels. So it may be that we're looking at the education side in the university, that's one level, versus perhaps scientists working in a research institute, and then maybe finally the policymakers that want to know what the outputs are and how the work may influence policy. So I think communication is really important, but it goes hand in hand with education. We need to educate our scientists to be able to communicate in different ways. And the most challenging ways have been with media, of course. And I think many scientists have been thrown in front of media during the COVID pandemic in particular. And we've seen some absolutely fantastic communication, and we've seen some perhaps less fantastic communication. And I suppose that's where we need to bridge it with education.
Good points. So all the future One Health media appearances will be fantastic. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, Ivars, please. There comes the microphone.
Thank you. I'm Ivars Berziņš from National Institute of Food Safety, Animal Health, Environment, Bureau, Latvia. My question would be that probably to Roberto and maybe to to Federico, what I was hooked by the one message he mentioned, that his trip from the to being veterinarian and to become a One Health agent is like MI6 something. It's a very serious job. But overall, the question maybe is to Roberto, and taking into account that the project EGP has invested a huge amount of brilliant efforts in education and training with brilliant PhDs, and what we have heard from the project meetings and so on, the question would be that what would be your, let's say, take-home message or message which you could pass to the university, academia environment, how to strengthen the university education systems to get involved as early as possible. So we have various professions involved, various aspects, and what would be your take-home message to the universities for the future universities? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the third thing we need to do is make sure that the universities understand the benefit. And I think most of them do, but we need to highlight that. Why is it beneficial that we have One Health so early on? Also, bringing it into the curriculum very early on, where it is easier to have different professions working together, particularly linked professions. So if a university has a medical or veterinary and a dental school and biological sciences, some of those could be shared learnings earlier on, but it is a lot easier to do that in years 1 and 2. So my message would be to ensure that higher education institutes are thinking about One Health right from the beginning. They're integrating it and making sure that students understand and academics understand what is the value of One Health and how can it be built on. So early on, it may be about the concepts, but later on in a 5th year vet student rotation, it's more about stewardship of antibiotics, if I talk about my own area, and how do we get that message across?
Good points. Anything further to this? No. Other comments, questions from the audience? If no, then I would actually ask everybody, also you here, but everybody, we will use 3 minutes to talk with your neighbors. We have microphones on, so careful here. And think about 2 things. One is something surprising you have learned during this One Health EJP, either being part of it or following it or hearing about it. Something surprising, maybe it's a totally random thing. I might say that OH means also oral health could be mine. And then more seriously, think about 3 things, 3 words. What are the main things we have learned during this time? So 3 minutes, it starts now. You can discuss with your neighbor, starts now. And I will only ask here you to say them out loud.
That's a good one.
I didn't have time to think about it actually. I'm not going to comment out loud. But I think actually it's very similar in this how well we were able to adapt and so you still have a success. But I think something like Philip was saying, how that, like doing it together with us too. So I mean, usually it's more difficult for people. It was surprising. Okay, 3 minutes have gone. There's a really nice active discussion ongoing, which we are ending now. It's good. A lot of things learned clearly, but let's hear from our panelists. Hein, would you start?
Well, from my point of view, and I think that Arno agrees, all of a sudden, and it's not a blame, Andre, I even have to thank you, you were gone and we had to take over. And there were still 4.5 years to go, and actually we did it. And I'm very, almost emotional. I'm very proud to be part of that group that managed, well, how many projects there were? 30 and 17 and so on. We did it. And with the crisis in between. Congratulations.
Let's take the surprises first. Karin, please.
Yes, I was surprised by how easy actually it was to work online. I mean, it's easy to work with people you know, but also people you don't know. And after a while, you don't realize that you never have seen them in real life. And when you meet, you're surprised. Well, we have never met before, but we have collaborated for a long time. That surprised me.
New ways of networking. Thank you. Rob, your surprise moment.
Well, the best surprise has already been given, but from my perspective, I think the fact that such a large group were working together so harmoniously is a surprise to me, and it works so well. We're here, we're in the 6th year, the project has ended, it's gone extremely smoothly right the way through. So we managed to achieve everything that we set out to do. And I think that is credit to everybody in this room and many others for their collegiality, their adaptability, and ultimately their commitment to make the One Health EJP a success. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good comments. If somebody in the audience wants to share their surprising new learning from these projects, Arno wants to do that. You get my microphone.
And to continue what you were saying, Rob, the success of this meeting until now is, we will see tomorrow, but it's a proof of how it's easy to work together.
I don't think that's a surprise. No further questions. Then let's go for the 3 words of what we have learned. Hein, do you start with those?
Collaboration pays off.
That's a quote. Yes.
Okay, I think about how One Health collaboration can be expanded. And then I think the first thing that is needed is open minds. And that is both on an individual level and organizational level, to really be able to take on and understand the One Health concept. And the next word would be trust. Because you need trust to dare to share your knowledge, but also to ask intelligent questions and stupid questions, although there are no stupid questions. And then the third term or words would be political will. because we have heard many times, especially in the CMEX exercise, that if the politicians and decision makers supports a One Health approach, makes it much easier to collaborate.
Very good messages and lessons learned. Rob, please.
Yes, so I think my top word would be communication at every possible level. I think we have to be able to communicate to all of those audiences to ensure that we can get the One Health message across. But I think that only can happen if we've got the right networks. So second word is build those networks and maintain those networks. And I know that's happening all of the time here, and I know there'll be a wonderful legacy from the One Health EJP. And thirdly, ensuring that they are multidisciplinary. We must look outside of that box. We mustn't just think that One Health is animals and humans. Let's widen that as much as we can within the remit of our projects.
Thank you. Really good words. Anything from the audience? Which words did you have? Something that was not covered here? Anybody wanting to share? There was a lot of discussion going, but people are shy and they want to continue talking about those words in our dinner cruise that is happening next. So I think we say thank you to our panelists, thank you to all who gave their statements, and thank you to the active audience too. Thank you. And Arno will come on stage and tell us what to do next. Our road trip continues.
Thank you, Pikka. So I just would like to thank all the panelists of today. I think it was a very interesting, there have been very interesting discussions. And personally, I was not sure that we would succeed like that. We are right on time, that's perfect. So thanks to all. Thanks for the very, very good preparation of these panel sessions. One thing, there is one translation helmet that has not been given. So if you have it in your bags or everywhere, if you can put it on the table at the exit of the room. As you know, we have this dinner. Don't be late, because once the boat has gone, you will not be able to jump on it. And the Seine River is maybe not ready. It will be ready for next year's Olympic Games, but it's maybe not ready to join the boat by swimming. And the last thing, tomorrow at what time? 9. So don't be late, because it will be a busy morning. We have many sessions. And we have a group, finally, we have a group photo with everyone, please. Join at the entry of the ministry. We'll do that on the road right in front of the ministry. So don't go to your hotel now. You first wait to be in the photo. And I thank you all, and we meet outside. Thank you.